Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. This time it comes from Nashville, Tennessee. An active shooter incident occurred in August of 2021, and this is the video from that incident. This comes straight from the Metro Police in Nashville, their YouTube page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video, and then at certain points I'll stop and I'll talk about things that are going on to kind of better explain some things in there for some people who may not know. And then I'll talk about things that I think that are done wrong and are done right. Without further ado, here we go.
I'm Kristen Mumford with the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department. This is a critical incident briefing concerning today's active shooter call at Smile Direct Club's manufacturing facility on Antioch Pike, in which 3 persons were wounded by gunfire inside the building. The shooter, 22-year-old Antonio King, an employee of the company, was fatally wounded during a confrontation with South Precinct officers at the intersection of Antioch Pike and Franklin Limestone Road. The first 911 calls came in at 5:58 a.m.
Hello, 911.
We got a warehouse shooting at Antioch Pike. I can't talk because he got the gun.
Okay.
He's shooting everywhere.
Are you
Now direct.
Are you at
Now direct. I can't talk.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
I don't know the physical address, but it's Smile Direct Club, 1530.
Hold on now.
Yeah. Antioch Pike.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
We have a call.
I have an active shooter on.
Is someone injured?
Yes, there is a security officer shot.
Okay, we're getting help out there, but please keep me on the line, and if you can, keep yourself as safe as possible, okay?
Okay, I'm trying.
How many people are you with?
We cleared the office area, and we're trying to clear people in the parking lot. People's seeking shelter in between the vehicles. I don't have a head count, but there's a red car coming.
A red car?
He's still on foot, I believe.
You think the suspect's in a
He's
red
still on foot, walking. The shooter has a green shirt on and a sling pack around his shoulder,
okay.
And he's walking beside the building currently, still shooting.
All right, just try to keep yourself as safe as possible. Again, keep me on the line. If you can't, just keep the line open, okay? When you say he's around the building, do you know which corner?
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're cutting out.
Do you know which side?
Right off of Antioch Pike Road, right the main road.
Okay.
So I see the cops topping the hill.
Okay, just stay on the line with me until you can make contact. Just try to keep yourself as safe as possible. Let me know if anything changes, okay?
Yes. So he's in the grass.
In the grass?
Right beside the road where the cops are coming.
Right by the road? Hold on one second.
Yes.
Right by the grass where the officers are coming by. All right, just stay on the line with me, okay?
Okay. Hey, ma'am, stay. Y'all. No, don't go in. We got an active shooter. Yes, he's still on the premises.
Again, just stay on the line with me, okay? Thank you so much for staying calm.
Absolutely. So he's in the parking lot, the warehouse beside us now. So he's walking towards the street.
East side, Smile Direct, okay? He's in the street?
Okay.
You see him with him?
Yeah, he's walking down the sidewalk on the side of the road now.
Sidewalk, okay. All right, again, just keep me with you until we can see if they make contact. And what kind of, was it a handgun, long gun? Could you tell? Yes,
it was a handgun. He's got multiple clips in his sling pack because he keeps replenishing bullets. I've probably heard 20 rounds.
Okay. And sling. Okay. Again, just thank you for staying on the line. Let me just make sure they make contact with that suspect. Is he still walking away?
Well, I think there's a police officer that gave him on the sidewalk now.
Okay. All right, there, yeah. Okay.
He's continuing to walk away from him.
All right, so that was a pretty calm 911 call. If you ever listen to 911 tapes in really critical incidents like this, a lot of times you can hear people kind of frantically yelling into the phone. You can just tell that they're super scared and super amped up. This guy was pretty cool, calm, and collective in my mind. So kudos to him. The woman before him, though, I don't know what her problem was. Almost sounded like she was getting frustrated with the dispatcher for asking so many questions, and said that she couldn't talk or something like that. That was my take on it. At first I thought that the way she said it, like she had thought that the killer was nearby or something, and she can't talk because she don't want to make any noise. But after listening to it a few times, I think she's just more frustrated with the dispatcher. That is, if you've never had to call 911 before, or call even the non-emergency line, they do ask a lot of questions when they take calls. So that's something that you'll need to be mindful of if you ever have to call 911. Is they're going to ask, what's your location? Who are you? Who are they? What are they wearing? Injuries, do you see any weapons? And they're going to be asking you a lot of questions. And typically what I hear in these 911 calls is as soon as the dispatcher answers, the people just start frantically yelling or speed talking about what is going on. And then, of course, the dispatcher has to get them to slow down and get their location, and then go from there. So if you know your location, where you're at, as soon as the 911 dispatcher picks up the line, you can start by saying where you are located at. If you know the numerics, great. If you don't know where you're at, you can just, talk about the street that you're on, cross streets, if you know what the cross streets are, what street you're near, things like that. Get that location first. That way they know where to start sending help to. And then from there, you can explain what's going on, but slowly explain what's going on, because if you start speed talking and talking all frantically, the dispatcher is just going to have to ask you to repeat what you said and go back and get information, because they're having to type all this out, and all that information they type out is what is used to send people to your location. So this is probably one of the more, I wouldn't say it's more important, but this is a pretty important part of the emergency response, is that 911 call. And you can save everyone a lot of headache if you just slow yourself down and start with where you're located at whenever the phone picks up. But not much on that. Moving on.
Investigation indicates that King fired his .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol inside the facility without anyone being wounded. King then engaged in a shootout with the security guards through the doors of the facility. King fired more than 20 shots. The security guards and a manager were wounded. It is believed that King was also wounded by their gunfire. South Precinct officers were on the scene within 5 minutes.
Okay, so we'll have to go to the very beginning of the video to show you the front of the building, because from the security camera footage, you don't really get to kind of get a good idea of what the front looks like. So We saw him over here by this vehicle, and he shot from here where my cursor is moving at, and he made his way towards the front of the building, went up this ramp over here, and then came back down this way, going back over towards this direction. You can see the windows on the doors here all shot up and spider webbed and all that. I don't know the actual physical makeup of this building and what the doors are like. You can see there's what appears to be a key card or a some type of access control device right here where my mouse is circling at. I suspect that the employees have to have a key card to get in, kind of thing. I don't think this is just a door that you can just, open on your own. You have to have some type of access device to get in. And so I don't think that this guy was physically able to get past these doors. That's just my belief. I don't know any other details than what's released in this video and what's in a couple of news reports. And there's has not been many news reports after this. At time of recording, it is August 18th. This was August 3rd. Most of the articles I found are from August 3rd. A couple come from like maybe the 5th and 6th of August. So not a whole lot of information is out there. I believe that this is a situation where this guy was being terminated from his job. And why I say that or believe that is because factories and warehouses typically don't have armed security all the time. If they have any form of security, it's going to be someone sitting at a gate checking in semi-trucks. They'll be taking the paperwork from the drivers, the little manifest, so to speak, that shows what's in the trailer. They'll take that paperwork, and then they may go to the back of the trailer and apply a seal of some sort to that trailer to seal it up and record a serial number that's on that seal. That's the extent of any type of security that most of these places are going to have. And during the daytime, they don't really perform much security functions other than that access control at that gate. At nighttime, these people might have a little security wand, an RFID scanner. Well, they'll walk around on a predetermined route around the building, and they'll take this little wand and touch it to these little buttons on the wall, and that little wand records what time they touch that button. They call it a watch tour. They might do that at nighttime at the most, maybe. But for the most part, the majority of these places, they just don't have armed security hanging around. And they especially just don't have, the majority of the time, having armed security hanging out in the lobby with the manager of the building. Typically, managers of any business typically just do not hang out with security. There is just like in any workplace, there's different classes of people, and your managers typically are not hanging out with security. Security is, unfortunately, for the most part, looked down upon by other people. Security could maybe fall in that same category as like a busboy or a dishwasher in some of these people's eyes. Like they just don't want to hang out with them. The only exception to that is if they're hiring some off-duty police officer, and then your little badge bunnies will come out and want to hang around the officer and talk to them. I guess they think that if they become cool with that officer, that might help them later on down the road with a speeding ticket or something. I don't know. But that's the only time you'll have anybody hanging out with security is if it's an off-duty officer. But other than that, like managers aren't hanging out with security in the front lobby. So the fact that they had armed security in the lobby with the manager that's even more that leads me to believe that this was a case where this guy was being terminated from his job. It doesn't mention that in any of the news articles or anything like that he was being terminated from his job. But there's a few of these things that just kind of lead me in the direction of believing that. Now, like I mentioned, this access control right here, what I think is an access control device keeping these doors locked. So what I think has happened is they either terminated the guy as soon as he got to the door, and then he went outside and got his stuff and came back, or he had already knew that he was being terminated, and he just decided to show up this day. It mentioned that he was employed there, so it doesn't fully sound like he had already been fully terminated before he shown back up. But then again, he could have been already terminated, and he just decided to show up today and start, his rampage. And this happens, kind of, well, not the shooting part. Factories and warehouses and other businesses hiring security after they fire someone or when they're about to fire someone is actually kind of a common occurrence, believe it or not, especially when you're dealing with factories and warehouses. And I hate to say this because it's kind of like you're lumping everyone into the same category. And I know that there's some good people working in factories and warehouses that this kind of statement wouldn't apply to, but you got a lot of lower class people working in factories and warehouses. A lot of people who don't make the right decisions in life, and so I'd almost say a no-brainer on why places like this end up having to hire security when they are going to go terminate someone or after they have terminated someone, because a lot of people they have no impulse control and they blow up and they say stupid shit like, I'm gonna come back and whoop your ass, or I'm gonna fucking kill you, something like that. And of course these places have to take those threats serious, and then that's when they actually get real security to come into the building. And it's only for short durations. They'll terminate someone and they'll keep them there for a week or something like that, enough cool down time for the person that they fired or whatever. And then they'll get rid of the armed security company and they'll go back to normal business where their quote unquote security is sitting at the gate checking in trucks. But anyway, like I said, no news articles confirming anything about him being terminated from his job. It's just a belief that I have. Now, we see that he walks back and forth in front of here shooting at the windows here. And I believe that his ability to access the building has already been denied. And I think that is partially the reason why he never tries to go inside the building. I think the more motivating reason why he never tries to go inside the building is because there's an armed security officer in there shooting back at him. Typically, people who want to do this kind of crap, they don't like going towards people who have guns, because those people who have guns can shoot them in the fucking face. And that's believe it or not, that's a hell of a motivator for someone to stay away from some area. If you got a fear of being shot in the face, guess what? You're probably not going to go towards wherever that threat is. So the major contributing factor, I think, on why this guy did not make entry into this building is because armed security was in there and they were shooting back at him. He was not that motivated to go in. And secondly, I think that he just had no means of actually gaining access to the building, because I think that his access rights have been already turned off at this point. If he had some type of card to hit that access control thing. It's not going to open the doors. Also, you can see the windows after engaging in a gun battle between him and security through this window. It taken multiple rounds. The window is still in place. It just hasn't shattered and fallen all the way down. So he's got this barrier that he has shot multiple bullets through, and security has shot multiple bullets through, and it's still intact. Now, of course, you can still go up there and work on it and try to gain entry, but trying to do that while someone is in there still able to shoot at you, yeah, it's not going to be very easy for someone to do that. So I think that this plus the armed security kept this guy from going inside the building, and that I think saved a lot of lives this day. The only people he injured were the 2 security guards and the manager. I think that if he had been able to gain entry into this building, people would have died. And there would have been some number of people who would have simply bled to death waiting on help to get to them. Because once an active killer enters a building, that makes it so much harder and makes the time frame get really long when the police have to go in this building and start clearing hall by hall and room by room. And this is a big building. This is a factory / warehouse. That's a lot of space to cover. And fire and EMS will not go into the hot zone until the police have made the scene safe. Now, in some places, you got fire and EMS who are especially trained to go along with the police in an incident like this. You know, the EMS and firefighters got plate carriers to keep themselves protected, and they'll kind of tag along with the police and provide pre-hospital care in an active killer event. But in a lot of places, they just don't have that equipment or training to do that. And there are so many active killer events where people simply bleed to death waiting for help to get to them, and help does not get to them because it takes so long for the police to safely clear the building and deem the scene safe for fire and EMS to get on the scene. So this incident, although, you know, it sucked that it happened, I'm glad it happened the way it did, because if he had been able to get past these doors and inside the building, I think this would have turned out a lot different in a bad way. All right, so going back, I'm going to play the video of him shooting one more time. Actually, a couple more times. I'll play it and I'll hit rewind on a couple things to point things out.
King fired his .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol inside the facility without anyone being wounded. King then pistol inside the facility without any.
So you can see security shooting at him. I'm going to hit replay and pay attention to where my mouse is circling here. You're going to see a plume of glass dust come outwards, and that's the security shooting at him. So let me hit play and then I'll hit rewind.
One being wounded. .5 caliber semi-automatic pistol inside the facility without anyone being wounded. King then engaged inside the facility without anyone being wounded. King then pistol inside the facility without anyone being wounded. King then engaged in a shootout.
Now, it mentions that he was injured by security. I don't know to the extent of what injuries he received from security. During this whole interaction that's captured on film, there's nothing that fully makes me believe that he got hit. You don't see like an obvious flinching or anything like that. And I don't even think that when he comes over here and is moving around on the ground, we see any blood on the ground. And I'll hit play and we'll watch it
with
for
the security guards through the doors of the facility.
He's dropped one magazine over here for a reload, and there's actually a person, and he may have already made his way through the parking lot, but there was a person over in here out in the parking lot, out in the open.
King fired more than 20 shots. Security guards through the doors of the facility. King then had a pistol inside the facility.
All right, yeah. So the very beginning, right over here, there's a person in the parking lot when this happens. And boom, he is beating feet trying to get back over here. Now, keep in mind, this is shift change, so there's still workers, outside on the property after shift.
Facility without anyone being wounded. King then engaged in a shootout with the security guards.
All right, so you saw that magazine get thrown on the ground right there. He does a reload. And this guy, he is continuously moving. And when you get into firearms training, staying mobile is an important thing, because motionless operators ventilate easily. Now, I highly doubt that he understands this concept, because many of these people, they don't. But staying mobile is kind of an important thing in a gunfight.
Through the doors of the facility, King fired more than 20 shots. The security guards and a manager were wounded. It is believed that King was also wounded by their gunfire.
Now, it appears as though he has some type of malfunction, and he takes the magazine out of the gun as he's walking up the ramp, and he reinserts it. Now, as he's walking around, has gone up this ramp and down this ramp, I don't see anything that indicates to me that he's bleeding.
You want to work for them, bitch?
And if he was bleeding, then he wasn't bleeding a whole lot. So, like I said, I just don't know the details of his injuries, because obviously none of that was released. Take note that he is taking a two-handed firing grip. Now, we can't see very well how good of a two-handed firing grip that he has. But that's... you don't see that a whole lot with untrained people. And it doesn't look like he has, an ineffective T-grip or cup and saucer kind of grip or anything like that. Looks like he actually has a decent two-handed grip on the gun. His sling bag, there's no details about what is kept in his sling bag, other than he does have some extra ammunition in there. To what extent he has extra ammunition, I don't know. None of that was released. But he does have some type of, or some degree of extra ammunition and magazines in his bag there. The bag and the magazines there, there are some people who carry go bags with them, and they've got extra magazines in them. But the number of people who do that is pretty low. They're more of your, obviously, survivalist kind of people. Some of you watching this video may be the type of people who do that. Common people, they don't do that. Like, common people who just, buy a gun for protection and they keep it in the car, that probably the only magazine they got with them is the one that's in the gun. If they have an extra magazine, they only got one. They certainly don't have multiple magazines with them. and they don't have them in a little go bag. So this is another thing that kind of makes me think that this is a termination kind of thing, and this guy knew that he's going to be fired or something like that, and he came there prepared for a fight, and he was going to actively kill people. So, but that's just my assumption, my belief. There's nothing, like I said, in the news that would indicate that this guy was being fired from his job. Now, another interesting thing is his skin color. You typically do not see active killers who are black. There are some that exist, but the overwhelming majority of active killers are white males. Now, as our society grows and, things become way different than what they were, 10, 20 years ago, the demographics are going to change, in my opinion. And I also believe that we are going to, at some point, experience an active killer police officer. I hate to say that, but the way things are going in this society, it's of my opinion that that's eventually going to happen. We're going to have a police officer, whether on duty or off duty, go active killer. It's inevitable. It's inevitable, in my opinion. And so when you look at, the history of active killers and everything, like I said, most of them are all white males. So when this kind of incident here, seeing a black male, it's kind of peculiar to see this. The only other ones that pop up in my head that have occurred have been something Naval Yard, I believe. Guy with the shotgun. And then before that, this is the Naval Yard, and then I can't remember off the top of my head. There's only been a few of them. It's not like when you see this, it's like, oh wow, that's odd. So, that's killing me that I can't remember it off the top of my head. But yeah, moving forward, we'll hit play on this, and then we'll go continue on through the video.
You want to work for them, bitch?
South Precinct officers were on the scene within 5 minutes and confronted King as he walked down Antioch Pike.
Response time, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And that's just for the police to get there. So, this is another reason why you should always be armed. And this also is going to bring into question or bring into the topic of allowed versus able in regards to concealed carry. So, in the news article, it mentions that this company has a very strict no gun policy for their property. Well, a lot of good that did. That no gun policy sure as hell kept that guy away from the property. It's a joke. These no gun signs are a freaking joke. They don't do anything. They don't stop anyone from bringing a gun. Just like a speed limit sign doesn't prevent anyone from speeding down the road. Armed people deter bad people from doing things. And like I pointed out earlier, the armed security shooting at him, I believe, was a major contributing factor in preventing that guy from going into the building and essentially hunting people down inside the building. If you are able to carry into a workplace, then you are able to. You may not be allowed to, but you are certainly able to. If there's no metal detectors or anyone doing checks or anything like that, you are certainly able to bring your gun with you into the workplace to keep yourself protected. 5 minutes is a long time. If that guy had made it into that large building and you were 100 yards away from the front door inside this building, it's going to take a lot longer than 5 minutes for the police to get to where you are at, because they will have to move slowly through the building to safely hunt the bad guy down. So although the police may have got on scene in 5 minutes, in order to get to where you're at in the building, it's going to take a lot longer. So this is where you need to think about allowed versus able. Are you allowed to carry a gun into work? Probably not. Are you able to? Probably yes. That's a decision you're going to have to make on your own. Do you violate your company policies and risk being terminated, or do you not violate company policies, keep your gun in the car, and then potentially set yourself up for being a victim if, in the event, an active killer takes place in your workplace? That's something you're going to have to figure out on your own. This is also the reason why you should have medical training and have medical equipment. So if you're going to be the person who is the good Boy Scout and follows the rules and just you don't bring your gun into your workplace and you keep it locked in your car, I don't know of any workplaces that prohibit people from carrying medical gear on them. So you can certainly go to work with a first aid kit that has a tourniquet and stuff like that in it and be able to treat yourself if you become injured, or treat someone else if they've become injured. And as I noted earlier, a lot of people in these active killer events end up bleeding to death waiting for someone to come help them. Moving on.
Repeatedly commanded him to drop his gun. King refused. Officer Dylan Ramos, who graduated from the police academy last August, and Officer Cheryl Kinchlow, who graduated in March of this year, fired during the confrontation. You are about to see body-worn camera footage so that you can have a better understanding of what occurred based on what we know up to now. A word of caution. The video you are about to see may be disturbing and difficult to watch. Viewer discretion is advised, especially for children and sensitive viewers.
He's got a gun in his hand.
Drop it now! Sir, do not approach anyone!
Stop! Do not move! Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon! Drop it now! Drop the weapon! What are we doing? Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon! Do not move! Do not move! Do not move! Do not move!
Back up, Bear! Back up!
Do not move!
Do not move!
Where's the gun? Okay, all right.
Stop, man!
Don't resist! Stop resisting! What the fuck? Goddamn rules, nigga! Forever, bro. Give us the other arm!
Roll that way.
Give us the other arm!
Oh, here you go, here you go.
I got a gun. What's bottom right here? Yes, sir.
I was 10-4. So we still need an ambulance for the suspect. Officer, 10-4.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go back and rewatch that segment. So I'll slide it across here to the beginning. Here we go. All right, so he gets here, he gets out. Now we see an officer over here on the sidewalk, and I don't know for sure if this particular officer was first one on scene, but he's the only one that we see so far going down the sidewalk following the killer. Or, yeah, we're going to call him a killer. He's the only one we see doing this. So it may be safe to assume that he was the first one there. Now, if you watch my videos long enough, you'll know that one of my biggest gripes when it comes to police responding to calls with guns and gunplay is so many times they get out and they only have their pistol. They don't get their rifle out. This guy got his rifle out. I love that. What I don't love is the fact that this dude never fired that rifle in this gunfight. I'll talk more about that later. This officer, whose camera view we see, he decided to get out of his car with just his pistol. Now, you know, it's a hot scene. He just now pulled up, seeing this guy walking with the gun in his hand and the officer with the rifle. You know, he may have just made that split decision. Hey, I don't have time to get my rifle. I'm getting out with my pistol. I'm okay with that. But any other time, you know, if you've got the time and it's safe for you to do it, you need to get that rifle out, because rifles will put people down a lot faster than pistols will. Now, his microphone falls off at some point. Now, in the video, I can't see very clearly what kind of uniforms or vest carriers these officers are wearing. It looks like some of them have outer carriers, and the outer carriers are kind of designed to look like a uniform. They don't have a lot of molly or PALS webbing on them or anything. So it's possible that this shoulder mic that he has, he just didn't have a good place on that uniform for it to stay on, and it can easily become unclipped. And that's a very common occurrence with shoulder mics. The little clip on the back, it's not that big, you know, it's pretty narrow, And so the little shoulder epaulettes for your uniform, the little straps on top of your shoulder, you can clip it onto them, but it doesn't fully go around the material. So, this little opening right here, you'd put it on there and you would still have fabric sticking out to here maybe. And during fights, these things can easily get torn off if you've got it where you've got the cord going across your back, and this goes over top of your shoulder, and this goes to the front of your chest, and will clip on the seam where your buttons go. It can get easily ripped off. If you have an outer vest and you've got Molly / Pals webbing, these little clips fit nicely down into those webbing and actually fits in between this top part and then this little lip piece, that kind of little L-shaped part. And for me, it's been pretty smug with my outer carrier, but not every outer carrier has that Pals / Molly webbing on there. So a lot of times these things just end up getting knocked loose in a fight, where when you move so quickly, they just come undone. There's a company called Mic Loop that makes a couple products to remedy that. Basically, it uses a little loop of paracord sewn into a Velcro. I don't want to call it a patch, but it's kind of like a patch. And you can, if you are wearing a concealed vest, you can put that thing on your vest on the underside, and have that little paracord loop come up out of your button-up shirt and loop this through the paracord, and it'll stay on pretty well. And for your outer vests, they've got, if you got an outer vest with a Velcro panel patch to the front of the vest, that little patch deal would go in between your panel and the vest, so sort of be sandwiched in there, and have some of the loop sticking out, and then loop the clip into that paracord, and it's pretty solid. Like, it stays in there pretty well. If you haven't checked out that company called Mic Loop, I would highly recommend it, especially if you use shoulder mics and you get into a lot of physical stuff, and you end up losing your shoulder mic a whole lot. I would recommend looking into that company called Mic Loop, or if you feel confident enough to brew your own kind of thing, get some paracord and stuff, and rock something on your own. But check out Mic Loop if you haven't already. He tries to put it on, and at some point he just says the hell with it and lets it go, and he takes a two-handed grip. Now, if this guy over here with the rifle was the first officer on scene, from the point he got there and told the dude to drop the weapon, from that point all the way up until the point they actually shot at him, any time in between there, I think that these officers had the legal right to use deadly physical force against this guy. This guy has already attempted to kill people. He has shot multiple rounds at people. He has shot people. Police get in there. They're giving him lawful orders to drop the gun, to take him into custody, and he's refusing those. He's acting aggressive. He's yelling at them. At any point right now, I believe they have the legal right to use deadly physical force against this guy. And in fact, I would argue that they should have shot him way before they got to that intersection and he decided to lift his gun and shoot at them. They should have shot him way sooner than what they did, in my opinion. And this kind of goes into an argument or a rant where so many people talk about de-escalation. Oh, we need to de-escalate. We need to de-escalate this guy. Oh, we need to de-escalate. Use your verbal judo. De-escalate. Talk to him. You know what? There comes a point where talking too much, trying to de-escalate, actually escalates the situation. And this, I think, is one of those situations where he has gone some distance in some amount of time, defying all lawful orders to drop the gun and surrender. And it has mentally emboldened him to the point where when he gets in the intersection, he's going to start shooting at the police. Sometimes, de-escalation doesn't mean using your mouth. Sometimes de-escalation means using a piece of equipment. Sometimes de-escalation means shooting a motherfucker in the face. And this is one of those situations where for them to properly de-escalate the situation, they should have shot him in the fucking face a lot sooner.
Sir, do not approach anyone.
Tells him he doesn't want him to approach anyone. So obviously, they're concerned that this guy could kill more or attempt to kill more people or take someone hostage. That right there, I mean, they have that fear of that. That's just another reason why I think they should have already used deadly physical force on this guy. I think it would be very easy to justify why you would do that. You fear for A, your life, and then B, you fear for the life of others. Now that right there, let me hit replay on that. One more time. I don't know what's going on with that. I've played this back multiple times. I cannot hear a casing hit the ground. Now, just because I can't hear it doesn't mean one doesn't. It very well could have been that a round was ejected and it hit the ground. You just can't hear it. Now, I don't know why he did that. There's only a few reasons I can think of why he did that. One, and I don't think that this is the case, but one reason why he could have done that is he attempted to pull the trigger and nothing happened. I haven't heard a click when I've replayed this multiple times, so I don't feel very strong about this option. But option one is he tried to pull the trigger, nothing happened. He racked the slide to get the gun in the fight. I don't have a strong feeling for that option. Option two is he knows he's about to get into a gunfight, and he's unsure if his round is chambered. And he wants to make sure that his gun is chambered. That's a good possibility. Option three, and I hope, man, I fucking hope this is not what's going on. But option three is this guy on a normal day goes to work with an unchambered gun. And it has just clicked in his head, oh, I need to chamber my gun because I work every day with an unchambered gun. And that kind of mentality, you see that kind of shit with untrained regular people, like, concealed carry people with no good formal training. They have this mindset that, oh, it's safer if I walk around with an unchambered gun. That way I don't get an accidental discharge. And if I need my gun out to use it, I can chamber it fast enough. No, you can't. That's a jacked up mindset. And that's the kind of mindset that I would expect to see from untrained people, just regular armed citizens. That is not a mindset that I would ever expect to see with a trained law enforcement officer, especially a street cop, because there's different levels of law enforcement officers. A street cop who has been through the academy and should have gone through some good level of firearms training. I just do not believe that that mindset would be prevailing. So I'm hoping it's option 2. This guy, he knows he's going to get into a gunfight. He wants to make sure that his gun is ready to go, and he just wants to rack it. If it's option 3, then this dude definitely needs remedial training and needs to be suspended if he's walking around at work with an unchambered gun. But like I said, I don't know for sure what's going on. It's got to be one of those 3 options, and I'm hoping it's option 2, but I don't know. Anyway, moving forward.
Stop! Do not move! Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon! Drop it now! Drop the weapon!
Moving forward. All right, so it's about to get into gunplay time. So we got this officer right here who we see, the one on the right. There's actually a third officer behind them, and we're about to see her video after this. We've got this officer who has shown up over here, and then we see one kind of show up over here in the left area, someone that has a shotgun. Out of all these officers who are here on scene, only this officer right here from the camera that we see shoots his gun, and then the female who is behind these 2, she shoots her gun twice. And we're going to see her video here in a second. Those are only 2 people who shot. This guy with a rifle, for whatever reason, never shoots his rifle. Why? I do not know, but that's wrong. He has the best weapon out to end this fight, and he does not use it. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but the girl that is behind them, and you'll see her video here in a second, she's under review for her shooting. She's being, I don't want to say like investigated, but she's being looked at for her shooting her gun and her being behind these 2 officers and being so close to them when she shot. So I'll talk about that when it gets to her video. But if she's going to be under review, then this guy with the rifle who failed to engage the bad guy who has shot at them, he definitely needs to be under fucking review. Moving forward here.
Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon! Weapon! Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon! Weapon! Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon!
So he shoots, and he shoots some more. This guy over here, he backs up, and all he does is keeps his rifle pointed at the guy. Again, I don't understand why this guy never shot his rifle, but that's, this officer obviously could see enough to know that he needed to shoot some more after this guy went down, because it looked like he still had the gun in his hand. And I'll hit the replay on this again. And it happens very quickly, and I'm not going to be able to pause it at the right moment when it does occur. Oops. Hit play. He raises his hand, and you see the gun right here. He does fire at the police. He fires his gun at the police officers, and this, of course, prompts him to shoot his gun. But this guy, he never shoots, according to the news release.
The weapon! Drop the weapon!
The other shot that you could hear that you can tell is away from him is actually coming from the female who is off screen over here to the right. These are the only two officers that fire. This guy with the rifle, whatever reason, never shoots.
Do not move! Do not move! Do not move! Do not move!
Then he starts going into fish in the fry pan kind of move. This guy just starts flopping around like a fish.
Back up, Bear! Back up! Do not move!
So he starts to make the approach, and they tell him to back up. The gun is basically right around him.
Not move!
Where's the gun? Oh, okay, all right.
Stop, man!
So this guy starts to walk forward and go towards the suspect. Everyone else is wanting to hold their position, it seems like, and he just starts making that approach on him. And then that kind of signifies to the others, like, all right, well, we'll start moving forward too. It does not appear as though there's any active communication between all of them, like a coordinating of like what we're going to be doing kind of stuff. So it seems like there's a lack of incident command, so to speak. So I think they're just kind of feeding off each other at this point and going by really this guy making the initiative to make the move in on the suspect. You can hear something clatter across the ground, and I think that's him kicking the gun away from him with that replay. It looks like the gun is right there, possibly. And it's hard to pause it at the right moment. Probably won't be able to see it at all.
Don't resist! Stop resisting! What the fuck? Goddamn rules, nigga! Give us the other arm!
Rolling that way.
Give us the other arm!
Now, at this point, this guy has actively shot at people at the building. He has shot at the police. He is actively resisting. He has a bag around him, and both of his arms are going to the front of his body towards this bag. I think that any reasonable-minded person would assume and have a high belief of likelihood that this guy could be going for another weapon. So at this point, I would have had no problem if one of them decided to pull their gun and shoot him in the back. And in fact, I kind of think that should have happened. Someone could have, for sure, tased him while he's doing this shit. But this guy, like I said, he has shot at people at a building. He has shot people at a building. He tried to kill them. He shot at the police. He tried to kill the police. Now he's resisting, and he's putting his hands to the front of his body where there's a bag where there could be more guns. Any reasonable person, in my opinion, I think would have believed that it would be justifiable for the police to use deadly physical force again on this guy because there's a possibility he could have been reaching for another weapon. So the second use of deadly physical force at this point, I think, would have been justified and should have been used.
Oh, here you go, here you go. I got it.
And you know, people always, and it's always the untrained people and the people who've never had to do this before. But you know, there's always these people who talk fucking shit about why does it take so many cops to put a dude in handcuffs? You know, why are they piling on him? Blah 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 blah. You know, unless you have ever tried to wrestle someone into a pair of handcuffs, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Sometimes it can be difficult as shit to wrestle someone into a pair of handcuffs, even after they've been shot. It's not as easy as Hollywood portrays it to be. It can be hard, even with 3-4 people, to get someone's arms behind their back and put them in cuffs, and to do it without, you know, without using a lot of excessive force and to get them to comply. Of course, you know, you can use some degree of force to get a person to comply or whatever, but if untrained people were trying to do this, I guarantee you untrained people would have been stomping on his head and doing stupid shit. But yeah, you know, if you've never had to wrestle someone in the cuffs, then like you're not going to understand why it takes more than a couple people to do it. And it can be extremely difficult to put someone in the cuffs. Even putting a juvenile in the handcuffs can be difficult. It's just until you've had to do it, you're just not going to understand it. So if you're one of those people who's looking at this thinking, oh, those cops are pussies, they can't put them in cuffs, until you've had to wrestle someone and put them in the handcuffs, then you need to shut the fuck up.
I got a gun. What's bottom right here? Yes, sir.
Here's another officer who showed up with a rifle. I like that. This officer here showed up with a shotgun, and then we see another officer who has a shotgun as well. So I like the sight of long guns for a call that has involved gunplay. I like that. Because that is a problem that I've noted in other videos is we just do not, a lot of times, see many officers go into gun calls and they get their long guns out.
House 10-4. So we still need an ambulance for the suspect.
So this officer, after having to use deadly physical force, comes off to the side over here, and I'm just assuming that he's kind of collecting himself. If you remember, the news media woman or the public relations woman, whatever her title is, she mentioned that he had just graduated the academy last August. So either he's been with this agency for exactly 1 year, or he's a few days shy of being with that agency for his 1 year mark. He's pretty young looking, so I'd say this is probably his first, career into this type of work. And contrary to what Hollywood makes you think, or what certain political groups may try and lead you to believe, police are not out shooting people all the time. Thousands, if not millions, of police officers go their entire careers without ever having to shoot people. Granted, they may have to pull their guns on people and point them at them, but the overwhelming majority of all the police officers in this country simply go their entire career without ever having to shoot anyone. And so this officer just went through the fight. He physically fought for his life, and now we're starting to see a a little bit of that mental fight, I think. He's composing himself like, oh shit, I just had to use deadly physical force against a person, and this person's probably going to die as a result of my actions. So he goes offside, he composes himself. I'm assuming he's composing himself, and then it's like something snaps in his head, and he gets back in the game.
Yeah. Officer, 10-4.
Boom, takes off.
Medic's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you remember, he parked somewhere down this way. So this is not his car that he's going to. Whoever got out, that looked like a long gun case. So someone got out. I think it might have been the woman with a shotgun, possibly. But he goes to this car to look for medical gear. Now, I don't know anything about Nashville Police, even though they're right down the road from me. I don't know anything about them and how they keep their cars set up. But it almost seems like he knew this was going to be there. So they could have their cruiser set up to where every cruiser has one of these medical kits in this bag that, sits in the trunk. And he was able to go there and get it like really quick. Now, it looks like a standard IFAC. You see the shears. There's a pressure bandage. It looked like in there. It looked like maybe could be a chest seal. And of course, trying to pause it, you just don't see it very well what's on the inside. It ends up getting blurry. Yeah, maybe pressure bandage there. This could be. It's kind of hard to tell from the angles and whatnot, but it looks like a standard IFAC. And this will kind of go into my spiel about medical stuff. So, like I noted earlier, it looked like he went to that car and found that pretty quick, even though that was not his car at all. So it's possible that Nashville Police have these kits in all their cars, and they might have an SOP like, hey, this bag is going to stay in the trunk of your car, and this med kit's going to be Velcroed to the top lid of this bag. And so they all know this is where you can grab medical stuff. I don't know if that's a thing or not with Nashville, but it should be a common practice that if you're going to have supplemental medical gear in your car, there needs to be an SOP on where it's going to be placed at. Because if your car is the only car nearby and everyone else's car is, 2 blocks away because they've had to, walk up the sidewalk like this incident, people need to know where to find your medical gear at. And so if you come up with an SOP on, okay, if you come to the trunk, the medical gear should always be to the left, or, if you've got the means to do it, you got your fleet maintenance or whatever, they're able to install something on the lid or the interior ceiling of the trunk lid, then that would be great. Because as soon as you open the trunk, boom, there's a medical bag on the ceiling of the trunk. Whatever SOP that you can come up with, you need to come up with an SOP on where you store your supplemental medical gear. And I call it supplemental medical gear because you should be carrying medical gear on you. You should have some components out of this kit on your person. And I have a video about a medical ankle holster that can carry a lot of this stuff. And if you're in this kind of profession and you got an ankle gun on you, you carry your spare gun on your ankle, there's no reason why you can't carry spare medical gear on your other ankle. It doesn't take up a whole lot of room. You can carry the very bare basic necessities to stop severe bleeding and save someone's life until you can get some more of that supplemental medical gear to them. If you got outer vests with pouches and stuff on them, then there's really no reason why you shouldn't have medical gear on you. If you've got a pouch on an outer vest, then you need to put some medical stuff in there. If you've got, if you work for one of those companies or agencies where you got a bunch of mollywebbing on your vest or whatever, and you've got the quote unquote real estate to do it, put an IFAC on there. There's the way our technology is today and the products that are out there, there is absolutely no reason why you should not be carrying medical gear on your person. Yes, I understand that in a lot of areas, law enforcement, they're not rolling in the dough. Like, you're making shit pay. I get that. And this medical gear is not cheap. I really get that. But you can get a tourniquet and carry that on you. No problem. Like, yeah, you might have to maybe save a couple dollars here and there. If you could go a couple weeks without buying, Cokes and shit out of the vending machine or at the gas station, make coffee at home versus buying coffee at the gas station, whatever, you can make it work, right? You can make it work. Stop blowing your money on stupid shit and buy stuff that's going to matter. And then get that training as well. Carrying this stuff is just one part of the solution. You need to also know how to use it. Moving on. So now we are going to see the second video from the female officer who shot her gun.
Drop the gun! Drop it now! Drop the weapon! Drop the gun! Shots fired. Back up, fellas! Back up! Do not move! Do not move! Where's the gun? Stop! Stop, man! Go down on him. Keep throwing. Don't resist! Stop resisting! What the fuck? Oh, goddamn rules, nigga! Where else? Throw him that way! Give us the other arm! Throw him that way! Give us the other arm! Oh, here you go, here you go. More for the
The actions of Officer Kinchlow in firing 2 shots, given the vantage point represented by her video, are under review by the police department. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and this police department conduct thorough use of force investigations. This investigation is in the early stages and will take time to complete. In the coming days, the TBI and the Davidson County District Attorney's Office.
All right, so I'll go back in the video. We'll see her again.
Where's the gun?
So, see if I can get that to pause on a good blurry. All right. So they say that she is under review for her shooting, and based off her positioning or whatever. And me personally, like the only person I think that needs to be under review is this guy with the rifle who failed to do his fucking job. That's the only person I think needs to be under review. Um, when the shooting happens, she's over here and she moves this away, and then she fires from here. It looks like I see no problem with that. But I get why some of these people are wanting to make a deal out of it, and it's because those people haven't had good firearms training. They live in the la la land of a nice golf course condition shooting range where everyone's on a line. You can't have too many people too far forward of you or too far behind you. They believe that if someone is if you got this nice line, but someone's a few feet in front of that line, then no one can shoot because it's unsafe. As long as you're following the four fundamentals, um, then I don't see any problem with her shooting from this vantage point. Uh, she has moved out of the way. She's no longer directly behind them. She's moved to the right. She had what appeared to be a clear line of sight under this opening of the sign, and she fired at the guy. So I have no problem with that. So what? This officer standing up here, did she have her muzzle pointed at him? If she had her muzzle pointed at him, did she have her finger on the trigger? Um, her target. Did she have her muzzle on her target? Um, she knew her target. Now, what's behind her target? What's behind her target is the same shit that's behind from their vantage point as well. There's a road and a sidewalk this direction. Um, she had her gun pointed at the bad guy. There was no one in between her and her muzzle. She had um, the ability to make that decision to shoot from her vantage point, and she made that shot. Um, Again, I have no problem with that, but I understand why untrained administration people would take problem with that. And there's probably like most of it, if most of the people probably watching this are probably thinking, "What the fuck are you talking about?" You know what? I get it too. I get why you're thinking like that because you've been conditioned that when you're at the shooting range, everyone's got to be on a nice, perfect little line, and if there's someone a couple feet forward of that line, everything's got to stop. It's unsafe. Um, and that is where the two-dimensional training environment uh, creates training scars when all you do is flat range paper target firearms training. If real world was like that, then great. Everyone would be perfectly set up for that, but it's not. Real world is 3D, 360 degrees. It is not golf course shooting range. Everyone's in a perfect line. Everyone's got to follow the 180 rule. It's 360, and um, you need to be able to shoot at your target with people in front of you, beside you, in different positions around you. There are some places where you can get firearms training where other people are forward of you and you're shooting live ammunition. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details about that kind of training and the training that I've been through, because there's going to be so many people who just, they're not going to get it. And then they'll never get it. But there are places where you can do more advanced firearms training where there's people in front of you. They're far forward of you, and you're shooting at a target that is somewhat near them. There are some places where in a training class, you could be standing next to a target and someone is shooting at the target. That's going to blow people's minds. They're gonna say that's unsafe. That's reckless training behavior. Wherever you've trained at to do that, that's wrong. They should be stripped of their teaching credentials and charged. Blah 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 blah. Again, that mostly comes from untrained people, people who are not invested in true training. If the only training you've ever had was a concealed carry course or stuff like that, then you're not going to get it. You're not going to understand what I'm talking about. And so, yeah, no problem with me or with her coming off to the side and then shooting from this vantage point right here. This officer was not directly in front of her. He was not between the muzzle and the bad guy. He's off to the left. I have no problem with her making that shot. I don't think that she needs to be under review. This guy with the rifle who did not shoot his rifle when the bad guy shot at them, I think he needs to be under review for not doing his damn job. That's about it. Concludes the video. The rest of the video is just the woman talking, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, not much else to say about this. I touched on the use of deadly physical force and medical stuff and all that good stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'll get to the shooting portion of the video, and I'm going to let this play so that it's unnarrated, like from start to end. You're going to be able to watch these videos without me talking and saying anything. That way you can just kind of watch it in peace, so to speak. So I'll go ahead and give my closing piece right now. If you like what you see and hear, give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the unnarrated portion of the shooting video. And of course, it wants to do this.
Indicates that King fired his .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol inside the facility without anyone being wounded. King then engaged in a shootout with the security guards through the doors of the facility. King fired more than 20 shots. The security guards and a manager were wounded. It is believed that King was also wounded by their gunfire.
You want to work for them, bitch?
South Precinct officers were on the scene within 5 minutes and confronted King as he walked on Antioch Pike. They repeatedly commanded him to drop his gun. King refused. Officer Dylan Ramos, who graduated from the police academy last August, and Officer Cheryl Kinchlow, who graduated in March of this year, fired during the confrontation. You are about to see body-worn camera footage so that you can have a better understanding of what occurred based on what we know up to now. A word of caution. The video you are about to see may be disturbing and difficult to watch. Viewer discretion is advised, especially for children and sensitive viewers.
He's got a gun in his hand. Drop it now! Sir, do not approach anyone. Stop! Do not move! Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon! Drop it now! Drop the weapon! What are we doing? Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon! Do not move! Do not move! Do not move! Do not move! Back up, Bear! Back up! Do not move! Do not move! Where's the gut? Oh, okay, all right. Stop, man! Don't resist! Stop resisting! What the fuck? Goddamn rules, nigga! Give us the other arm!
Roll that way.
Give us the other arm!
Oh, here you go, here you go.
I got a gun. What's bottom right here? Yes, sir.
I was 10-4. So we still need an ambulance for the suspect. Officer, 10-4.
Medic's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Drop the gun!
Drop it now! Drop the weapon!
Drop the gun!
fire. Back up, fellas! Back up! Do not move! Do not move! Where's the gun? Stop! Stop, man! Go down on him. Keep throwing. Don't resist! Stop resisting! What the fuck? Oh, goddamn rules, nigga. Wherever. Give us the other arm. Throw them that way. Give us the other arm. Oh, here you go. Here you go. Here. For the
The actions of Officer Kinchlow in firing 2 shots, given the vantage point represented by her video, are under review by the police department. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and this police department conduct thorough use of force investigations. This investigation is in the early stages and will take time to complete. In the coming days, the TBI and the Davidson County District Attorney's Office will continue to analyze this incident. By policy, the MNPD will also be conducting a review of the tactics and interaction you have just seen to ensure that they meet the high standards expected of our officers. Thank you for watching this critical incident briefing.